we'll be trading initial jobless claims data, which is just employment claims benefits, and PPI data, which is just another indicator of inflation. So a quick recap on it: higher jobless claims, I'm looking for gold buys. Lower jobless claims, I'm looking for gold sells. I'm going to be very careful on gold sells though. PPI data for gold needs to be inverse jobless claims. So I don't want to get too confusing on that. Just understand jobless claims comes out, you know the direction in gold. Make sure PPI comes out inverse jobless claims. If we're looking at NASDAQ, this is going to be a little more difficult. I'll explain this quickly, but technically, higher data, NAS buys, lower data, NAS sells. The biggest caveat here is jobless claims has the potential to cause a risk-off market. So if this data comes out too high, we can see NAS still drop because it can trigger recessionary fears. So we have to be careful for that on NAS. Gold should follow the data. NAS, I can create an argument for both directions. And I'm going to be watching both of them to see how the data comes out. But we have 4 seconds. 2, 1, let's see. Gold pushing up, data. So far it's mixed. So jobless claims came out exactly as expected, and PPI data came out mixed. Yeah, it's another mixed piece of data, just like CPI data. Watching price action, gold not really doing that much. I would still wait for breakouts. Remember, gold's sitting at all-time highs. Let's see how the dollar's reacting. Dollar spiked up. So PPI, I'll be honest, this is mixed. Like there's not much of an edge here. Even for, like, I'm looking at dollar strength and I want to justify, okay, well, did something come out way above expected to give us dollar strength? Once again, jobless claims would have had to come out lower. Remember, jobless claims is inverse US dollar. So we have a previous of 227 and we came out at 230 with an expectation of 230. This, to me, is not tradable. The way that I'm going to handle this the exact same way that I handled CPI data yesterday, right? I'm going to put alerts here on NAS. I'll move this off the side for now. But all I'm going to do is continue following my bias. Once again, yesterday is a perfect example of what it looks like to follow your bias when we see what NAS did after that data passed. Same thing with gold. Gold is sitting at all-time highs, so I'm going to be very careful, but I am still going to put alerts to the breakout here. I'm just showing you guys, and I'll send charts and markups on where I'm going to put my alerts. NAS is starting to drop. You know, if it breaks this support and we see it, what would look like a risk-off market, let's see how equities are reacting. What's US 30 doing? US 30, wick and this is what's going to fuck people up. This is why it's important to understand what mixed data is, because if you're trading US 30, it looks like a good buy when the data came out, but if you don't understand that mixed data came out, it's just an unnecessary loss. It's 50-50 exactly, Blair. You have 2 pieces of data for PPI that came out lower and then 2 that came out higher. So it's not something that, yes, you're seeing volume, but for me, I want a reason to take these sells. That's just me. Now, with that being said, if you only want to look at technical breakouts, this is the zone that I'd be watching on NAS. If we get a break, you can see what my alert is. Now, if you ask me, I want to see it break below and give us a fake out and come right back up, and I'm going to take my buys. I'm not comfortable taking sells. If I was going to, excuse me, I would want to see, like I said, really high jobless claims to give us a risk-off market, and PPI would have had to come out. PPI is less important than a risk-off market for jobless claims, but that's just what I would have wanted to see. Dollar, look what dollar's done. This is a perfect example of how 2 seconds ago dollar was super strong and it's already recovered the majority of its move. And gold, right here, looked like it might have pushed bearish. So if somebody took gold sells impulsively before it broke support, you probably have a lot less confidence in those gold sells right now, because now gold's still holding to the upside and dollar's already losing its strength. Does that make sense? Like, this is exactly why mixed data can be, we can still trade the data. We can look for the opportunity, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a trade every single time, right? It's like, sometimes it sucks to get your hopes up and wait for important data to come out. You get volume, you get all this shit to come out, and then it comes out as a dud. But like, I can't stress this enough. If you go take a look back at what NAS did yesterday and even gold, following the bias and having patience is always going to pay off. Because just waiting for this pullback, and like I said, NAS is still bullish, you can see where the real trade was. You have like a 300 point, you have like a 200 point drop versus a 700 point rally. We know the real direction. It's just a matter of having that patience. So even if, like I said, even if NAS breaks the support, it's completely up to you guys. If you want to take sells below here, I'm against it. Unless if I can justify a risk-off market, Other than that, I'm just going to be setting alerts and waiting for buys. I'm going to be patient and wait for that to happen. That doesn't mean you can't take sells if it breaks the support because you're getting a technical break. It just means that the data isn't giving us an edge to take sells, and you're just looking at technicals, which is fine. Just understand there's a little bit of risk there because NAS likes to do this shit. NAS will do this a lot where you look on the lower time frame. This is the 30-minute time frame. So this wick on the 5-minute, you get closures. So if you're looking at the lower time frame and you're going against the bias, someone's entering sells here. Someone's entering sells here in the lower time frame. Both times, they're just fake outs. Because if you, again here, perfect example, right? You guys have seen me take entries like this millions of times. We get a break below support, I put an alert, and I'm like, I'm just going to wait to see if it comes right back above this area, and then I enter it as soon as it comes back up. So if NAS does that here, if it breaks below, this is just me, gold's about, if anyone is in gold buys, it's about to hit that top resistance area. If NAS does break this, I'm just going to watch to see if it consolidates. I'm going to wait for NYSE open, and if it comes right back up, I'm taking buys. Still following my overall bias. We are getting a strong push. Like if I look at the 5-minute, really nice closure here, still above support though. So just be careful. For those who remember yesterday, that's exactly what NAS did. Whoops, here. These are the buys that I took yesterday, right here. But it looked like it was going to sell off. We had a strong 5-minute closure, still closed above support. We get a little bit of an order block here. And then that bullish breakout is when I took my buys right back up before NYSE opened, before we got this pullback. The reason this data was mixed, to clarify, is when you see, for one, jobless claims, it came out exactly as expected. So when you can see the forecast at 230 and the actual is at 230, meaning, and then if you look at the surprise number, it says 0. That means we did not get a surprise in the data at all. It came out exactly as the markets were expecting. The problem with this is that it kind of hurts your edge on taking a trade. We want the markets to have a surprise when you're paying attention to data. We need a shift in direction because when the markets move is when we take our trades, right? When it comes to PPI data, if you take a look here, PPI data came out negative 0.1 year over year. And then if you look right below it, month over month came out positive 0.1. So we have the same piece of data, month over month, year over year, coming out different. And then even if we take a look at PPI core, same thing. PPI core, negative 0.1 year over year, and then month over month, plus 0.1. So NAS right here, starting to break this zone. I'm not going to say don't take sells if it breaks, completely up to you. I'm just saying I'm not a fan of doing it. I would 100% take these sells if I could justify a risk-off market, which would mean jobless claims need to come out like way higher. But as of right now, if you're going to take this, it's just an impulsive break. And no, the rate cut information is still the same. We're still hovering around there. I mean, gold sitting at all-time highs. Again, dollar completely recovered. So if anyone did try entering, gold buys as dollar flipped, it's just, I don't like guessing. And you see dollar going in both directions. You see gold going in both directions. I think it can be a little bit of a risky thing to do, especially buying gold at all-time highs. So like I said, I would just be careful. If you're in this or if you're tempted in this, I'm not going to say don't do it. Just be careful. And NAS, let's take a look over at equities. Overall, equities dropping too. So it almost looks like we're seeing a risk-off market. Right? You see volatility index spiking up. NAS, like I said, if anyone's entering this, it's just an impulsive break of the support. Even Germany index is dropping. UK dropping. Global equities are dropping aggressively. And if we take a look over at currencies, this is important to pay attention to as well because you can see AUD is dropping. AUD is a risk currency. Look at the Swiss. The Swiss franc is gaining strength, which is a safe haven. The Japanese yen is gaining strength, which is a safe haven. So you're seeing currencies follow risk flows as well and equities. My biggest concern is that even though you can see right now, you can see what would look like a risk-off market, this might look good to take NAS sells or US 30 sells. If you're going to take the technical breaks, I've said this a million times, feel free. But I'm going to leave it alone and just watch. See how much this drops, see if we get a consolidation, see if it flips or reverses, and see what NAS does for the day. Because overall, I don't think this data justifies a risk-off market. I don't think this data justifies NAS melting. I think this still follows dollar weakness. This still follows, gold buys and NAS buys. I don't want to talk people out of buying gold if it continues to break higher. I just don't want to do it. right? So but the data still, I would prefer gold to be down here. The data still confirms the direction, which is why I don't want to sell NAS. I don't want to sell gold. And if anyone's in currency, so there are going to be days where NAS consolidates after data comes out. And if you're trading a US dollar pair, a currency pair, it's the mover. Take a look at UJ. I know there are people in here who like trading Euro USD, right? Euro USD is pushing up real nicely. Dollar weakness is still following the overall bias, right? So any of these pairs are still playing out really nicely. Even AUD USD is a little different, but you're getting moves with currency pairs right now too, and at least dollars following the right direction. Where NAS dropping doesn't really make that much sense, and you can see it now still holding support. And we take a look over at tech stocks right here. We're already seeing that flip again. It's not fun trading mixed data. It's so much easier if data just comes out clear and gold takes off and we take these buys. With that being said, if anybody is in buys, this looks really good. You're getting that breakout. Like I said, I think it's risky entering below this resistance, but if anyone did enter it with that dollar weakness, it's still in profit. Just be careful getting stuck in a pullback move or some shitty price action as you're hitting the highs here. Once again, on the 5-minute time frame, this might look great, but when you zoom out, I'm sure this looks good on the lower time frame on all of these wicks on gold too. So that's why I still believe, getting in somewhere down here is much easier, but not going to talk anybody out of taking it if its price action still is good for it. If you're just looking at technicals and you're just following price action, it's going to fuck you up. If you don't understand how the data is impacting it and how not to change the bias, you're going to be entering these NAS sells for no reason, and then you end up just taking a loss for nothing. Like I said in the beginning, we can't determine whether or not data comes out mixed. The best thing that we can do is just show up for the data, do analysis, wait for the right probability and the right price action to take our trades, and keep doing that every day. And long term, that pays off.